So it's basketball season, but the football schedules were announced this week for the Big 12 for 2023. And of course, we have some new additions to the league coming this fall. So when you look at the men's side of this and these schools that are coming in with BYU, Cincy, UCF, Houston, is it a stronger league, basketball wise?
Well, okay. You add Houston, that definitely makes it stronger.
Sure.
I mean, they're number 3 in the country. They're 20-2. Now, the other 3 are, I would say, they're good this year, but not real good. Cincinnati is 15-8. UCF is 13-8. BYU is 14-10. So, they're having okay years, not great. I don't know from top to bottom if it will be as good. Now, the top, you add Houston, that's a big addition.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that makes a Big 12 so good is the bottom teams are still really good, even though their records may not show it. I'm not sure if Cincinnati, UCF, BYU, just judging on this year, if the league, as an entire league, will be quite as good as this year.
Yeah.
It's kind of hard to get better than it is this year, because I mean, it's by far, to me, the best league in the country, top to bottom.
Yeah, and as far as the women goes, I would say they don't have a Houston in terms of, they don't have a team like that where they're adding a top 5, top 10 team in the country. None of the 4 women's teams that will be joining the Big 12 are ranked. I would say BYU is probably the best of those programs. The others, Houston, Cincy, UCF. I think Houston's like 5-3 in the American Conference this year. The other 2, Cincy and UCF, are kind of at the bottom of that league. So it's not just overwhelmingly strong additions on the women's basketball side. I would say BYU is a good program, and more often than not has pretty good teams.
Mm-hmm.
And it will be interesting to see, just as these teams get in the Big 12, if their recruiting improves, if they make some upgrades to try to, keep up with the Joneses, so to speak. And it'll also be interesting to me. Don't you feel like the Big 12 has a very distinct feel to it? Like on the women's side, it's a very, very physical league. And when you bring 4 new teams in, you just wonder, will they bring a new element to the league? Will they have to adjust to the style of the Big 12? I mean, I think it's going to continue to be a physical league. The other thing on the women's side, and I don't know, you can speak to this on the men's, but in the women's side, you have a lot of teams that do different things. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Not everybody runs the same stuff. You have some teams that are more post oriented, some teams that are more guard oriented. Obviously everybody shoots threes nowadays, but for some teams that's a bigger part of their offense than others. So that's what's kind of unique, about the Big 12, is that all the different looks you get. And so, in that sense, these 4 new teams can kind of be whoever they want to a certain extent. Now, like I said, the physical nature of the Big 12 may be a little eye-opening to them. I bet it's a little more physical than the American.
Yeah. Another thing you got to consider, it's not going to be a double round robin anymore.
Mm-hmm. Right.
You're not going to have 26 conference games.
Right.
So there's going to be, some questions asked. I mean, right now, the winner, they've played everybody twice. So you can't really question, if they're deserving of it. Next year, it's not going to be that way. There's going to be some questions about who's playing the tougher schedule, all that kind of stuff. So there will be a lot a lot more going into it, I think, with the expanded league. And once Texas and OU leave, you still couldn't play what would it be, a 22 game schedule? I don't think that would work.
No.
That's a lot of conference games.
Sure, it is. So yeah, that's the downside of, and I wouldn't even say that this is a super conference in terms of I think when people think of a super conference, you're thinking of 16 teams or more,
Right.
which gets really unwieldy. But
Yeah.
but that may be where we're headed eventually. And of course, one thing, and we can talk about this more probably on a future podcast, but the idea of Gonzaga has been thrown out.
Woo.
And you talk about getting the basketball league better. Holy crap.
Yeah, there might be some teams that don't want to play basketball anymore. If you had Gonzaga, I don't know. I don't know if we're going to win many games.
We're going to go football only.
Right.
Yeah, we'll see, man. I tell you, you get the Zags in there with Kansas and Baylor and Houston.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, that'd be something.
Yeah.
So yeah, it'll be interesting certainly to see from all perspectives, all sports really, what these new 4 teams bring. I think, we've talked about it before, but I think among the free agents out there in terms of schools looking to go to different conferences, I think they did pretty well,
Oh yeah.
and certainly it really comes to the forefront in football. That's where these 4 programs have been better.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.